people. Happy Independence Day. And I'm feeling pretty good. A little late in the to start up than I intended, but it is what it is. And it was raining earlier, so it's probably best that I did save so that way I didn't have to juggle with starting and restarting playthroughs over and the part. And so yeah, it's been it is what it is, more or less. Can't really complain much. So last night took me 3 streams to cut off the tail of and ultimately kill Black Dragon Calamite. Ugh, the frickin' Calamity Dragon. Yeah. And that was frustrating. So yeah, as a general dragon fight, Calamite is pretty cool. But cutting the tail off was, well, stupid, to be perfectly frank. And I have no idea why From Software made it so needlessly difficult to do it. But hey, I did it. I cut off his tail, got his sword, and there's one more boss after him before the finale. And yeah, who's next? Manus, Father of the Abyss. The problem is getting to him. That is what that's the big shtick in the whole thing. And then of course between him is the final boss and stuff there, so we'll get to that. Okay. Just checking some stuff. Got my big sword. I also just remembered that because I beat Arturius, I can get his armor from Zuma near Firelink. Problem is his armor is ridiculously expensive, and the fact that I have to put extra work to unlock the thing by buying it is another thing I don't like. Seriously? Who cares about the stupid rings and shit? Just give me the freaking armor. I beat the boss fair and square. I should get the reward of getting the armor straight away. Why do I have to bother buying it? With a ton of souls that's far more valuable with upgrading with. Yeah, that's something that doesn't make sense to me, honestly. Like when Dante beat a boss in the Devil May Cry games, did he have to go spending all the very, very important red souls just to unlock the weapon you get from the boss or puzzle? No. That's just my personal gripe, really. And it's definitely one of the coolest looking armors in the game, that's for sure. A lot of Titanite shards all of a sudden. Would you get off me? Ugh. Woo, woo, woo. And he vanished. This game and its physics, I swear. I did not want to jump into it. Those look like parasites attached to their heads. Multi-eyed and stuff. Kind of like an arachnid. Reminds me of the amygdalas from Bloodborne, now that I think about it. I wouldn't be surprised if these kind of had a partial inspiration. Okay, magic shield. Oh, green shard. And by the way, I was able to max out that that magic falchion and get the trophy, so I'm happy about that. Ah, damn it. Wait a minute, didn't I unlock a shortcut? I know I unlocked a shortcut. Well, lost those humanities. Yeah, I'm not used to Oolacile completely. Yeah, go use this thing. I think. Yep. Let me go get my humanities is back. Glass cannons. Come on. Ugh. Well, I lost the humanities. Those sorcerers with their Manus ghost blasts are a real headache, aren't they? A real headache. Well, I lost the humanities, so... oh well. Okay. Well, no point in going back into that room now, so I might as well just carry on. Floating plot magic elevators. All the magic in the world didn't save them, that's for sure. Okay. Okay. Whoa. I saw... oh no. Are you kidding me? Are you shitting me? Fucking sorcerer up there with his fucking cannon. This isn't hard, it's just annoying. Very annoying. Try again. Yellow. At least they don't summon the drones. I'm glad that they don't do that, at least. It's that one over there on the right. Or is it? No. There's a guy further back there that's shooting the blasts. Are you shitting me? Come on. Every time, before I can get to cover, he fucking shoots the dark energy at me. It's like the channeler all over again. Freaking dumb. Yeah, put him in a perfect high ground position where I can't do anything and I get mobbed. Again. Like, I need to have the shield up to the crest shield up to block the magic, but using the Black Knight sword one-handed makes it so freaking slow that it's practically unmanageable. There's multiple, no wonder. Okay, I had the shield up. Nope, I didn't. At least they're weak to one hit. Fuck you. Whoa. What is that? I don't know what it is, and I don't like the looks of things. Is it just me, or are all those statues headless all of us, for some reason? Uh-oh. That don't look good. It's like a boulder with a rock attached to him. I don't know what that is, but I pray it's a mini-boss. That looked weird. Looks like a dude strapped to a boulder in a tree in an unholy fusion of some kind. Seeing if there's anything hidden in the illusions, because that seems to be a theme here. We must face the long dark of Oolacile. From Software, you sneaky sons of bitches. There's a bonfire. Looks like a jail. Looks like a jail cell. And all the inmates have broken out. Can't take this. Need night. I should probably... You know what? I got enough humanities as is. I might as well make use of them. So that way I can kindle bonfires. I might as well. I'm near the end of the game as it is. It seems to be a 5. So make it a 15. So I made it a 10 with that one, so I should make it a 15 with this one. We must face the long dark of the abyss again, folks. Stuff, all right. Chasm of the Abyss. Fitting name. Uh-oh. Well, I missed the lizard. What the fuck? Those look like humanities. Okay, there's 2 directions. Sorcerer. Damn it. him. Dark bead. I'm guessing that's a spell of some kind. Okay, so that just led to sorcery of some kind, I'm going to assume. So, only way left is down. For all the creepy sprites right there. And wait, since they're made of humanity, wouldn't that mean I would get humanity from them? Seems like a sound principle. Steamy water. Wait a minute. It's Alvina. White cat. Well, that was an accident. Well, they seem weak to my swords. My big sword. There's a thing over there. Yup, humanities. Twin humanities. Look who it is. It's Sith. Poor dog. Well, wolf, technically. He can't float. How do I release him? Oh, wait a minute. Now it's lifting. Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to do the Abyss before I fought the... I kind of wanted to do the Artorias stuff before I did Sith and the Four Kings, because you got that alternate cutscene. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain. Besides, if I ever decide to, I can always do another playthrough where I do the alternate path. Cleansing Great Shield. Yeah. Let's looky here. 14 pounds. Sheesh. 31 strength. A great shield. Steel great shield used by Artorias, who succumbed to the Abyss. Deeply scarred by the Abyss, used this to form a barrier to protect his compatriot Sith. Although this drained the shield, its magic defense remains high. So it's basically a heavier version of the Crest shield. Yeah, it's all warped. It's not brand new. So yeah, I could use the Soul of Sith for three things. The Cursed Greatsword, which I got. The regular Artorias Greatsword, which is useful for everything else. And then I could also use it to make a pristine Great Shield. So yeah, that's what happened. He protected Sif, and because he protected Sif from Manus, he got corrupt from the Abyss. He got corrupted. And a little bit of a factoid that I learned: Arturius is actually left-handed. So when he saved Sif, he ended up using his good arm, which is why it was limp. So he wasn't even using his right. He wasn't even using his correct hand, his correct sword hand when I fought him. So how about that? Now what is over here? Goes up. Ah. That's where we were. Clever. Going down, deep down. Hey Capcom, where's that deep down game of yours? It was like a Dark Souls-y looking game that they announced it. They never... like years and years ago. For PS3 and 360. Don't know what happened to it. It's like they completely... It's like they forgot about it. And they have not told anyone anything since. Humanities. That was another way. That's a lot of sprites. Ew, touching me. They hit me. Gotta be careful. That's where I came from. Individually, they seem weak, but in a swarm, deadly. Oh, come on. Hit him. Stop hitting him. I'm wielding a big fuck-off greatsword. How can it miss? Help me carving. he goes. Black Flame. They look very cartoonish in a simplistic kind of way. I'd see, you'd think you'd see these kinds of sprites in a much more simplistic indie game, like Little Nightmares or something. So they kind of stick out in a weird way. Explore further. I should. I don't know where to go. Okay, I'm like Gandalf and Moria. I don't know where to go. I'm tempted to say jump off the cliff, but there's something over there that I missed. Can't go here. When I see the prism stones, I'll be en route to Manus. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's just, you know. But the... Okay, I see prism stone up there. There's an object over there, but I don't know how to reach it. Orange and green. Okay, I didn't take this route. I didn't go down the stone. I should probably go back and take the elevator. Should I go take the elevator back up so that way I can save there? I think I should do that. Wise idea. Whoa. Almost bit the bullet there. Yeah. Oh. I almost did it again. I'm self-sabotaging again. Okay, go down the toppled pillar. That's what I didn't do before. Okay. I'm gonna go up. Go to the bonfire over there. So that way I don't have to go past the battalion of mini amygdalas. That's what they look like, amygdalas. Because of the heads with the multiple eyes.
So yeah, I was following both the prism stones and the glowing objects I didn't pick up, but I ended up I didn't go down that toppled statue. Whoops, wrong way. Wrong elevator, wrong floor. Went the wrong way, I think. I think it's this one. Yep. Okay, like Tomb of the Giants, all over again. Oh, great. Heights and infernal blackness. Just wonderful. Two things that I don't like. Heights at an incline, I mean. Can't be too far away now, I don't think. That must be it. Whoa, it's over here. Ah. A white slab. I needed that, actually. That way I can get another weapon trophy for the occult with the occult club that I found. Some of these weapons, you know, I found that where I could do it. I had a lightning spear that I could have kept upgrading, but when I found that I could shortcut it to going backwards to get the Ornstein Spear, I went, I undid it. So I'm gonna have to find that weapon again if I ever just wanna take the easier path. Or I could just make a fresh new one. Either way, I'm definitely not platining this on one go. Well, or in one go and then two extra little goes like I did Bloodborne. But hey, I can see myself replaying it regardless because of all the different builds there are. So either way, it's like I'm not bound by one. Souls. Okay. Alrighty. We got an angry primordial fiend to deal with. Awakened by foolish people that listen to Koth. Yeah, how much you want to bet they listen to Koth. Koth got got into the ears of Oolacile's leaders just like he did the Four Kings, and that's what happened. It makes sense. I also gotta use this pendant. That don't look good. It's the hand from the portal. Uh-oh. Nice primordial human. Good primordial human. He looks wicked, man. Well, I'm dead. He definitely moves fast. For an old man who's been in a cave for so long. I wanted to try and get Sif, but he wouldn't let me. I'm gonna try it. Probably not worth it. So I'm gonna try as is. At least I can use this multiple times. Well, the shortcut's not too bad compared to others. Not very many enemies in the way. I mean, the sorcerer is annoying, but at least it just takes one hit with the sword. Okay, round 2. He repeats the cutscene. Okay then. What the fuck do I do? Get up, you fool. Won't need the pendant until he's at half health. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm trying to learn without spoiling myself too much. Granted, I've spoiled myself a lot, honestly, but at the same time, balance. Okay, so his front is definitely what I need to avoid. He has a tail, but I don't know if he really uses it much. Okay. Well, okay. Doesn't look like you get anything from doesn't look like his tail can be cuttable. Huh. Manu is a Hindu concept, refers to the archetypical man and progenitor of humanity, basically Hindu version of Adam. And Manus is also Latin for hand. And Manes in the Roman religion refers to the souls of the departed. Okay. So there's like a triple meaning behind his name. Interesting. I'm just gonna avoid the sprites. Okay, so I don't need pendant until second half. And avoid his front as best as I can. I'm tempted to call Sif so that way she can distract him, but I don't know. I mean, even if she doesn't really do much of anything, distraction is always nice. Damn it. When he puts both his arms in the air, run far away from him. First phase, he's melee, then he combines that with dark magic at the second phase. Yup. I'm gonna try it this time. I'm gonna see if I can at least have Sif around his bait, even if she doesn't do anything, just to see if it works or not. Probably not, but I want to at least cover all my bases. I did do better that time. I think he's actually harder than Calamite now that I think about it, because he moves, he throttles all over the place. He uses spells. What made Calamite even hard wasn't even the actual fight itself, it was just the tail, if you opted to try and do it, which I did. And, I'm not so inclined to do that again anytime soon. Okay, the prison stones change color for randomly. I wish the summon spot was not in the middle of the boss arena, though. That I'm not happy about. I wonder if I can, do what I did with Calamite by interchanging the shield and then going double-handed when I'm striking, so that way I can still defend myself from his strikes if I'm not able to dodge out of the way. Here. Wait a minute, there it is. Get him, girl. Yeah, that was the attack that screwed me that time. Did Sif just die? I think she... No, wait. No, she's fine. that was awesome. Okay, definitely, probably my favorite fight in the game so far. Or at least one of top 5. Oh, it's dusk. What is she doing down here? So, she was enveloped by Manus. How does she end up getting trapped in a golem too? Now I think about it, this woman must have the worst luck. Manus is such a fun boss fight. I swear. I agree. He looks cool. His attacks are a little frustrating to avoid if you're not careful. That, I admit, the one where he starts kind of doing that little tantrum attack that he does is the worst one, but everything else is fine. His spells attacks, of course, they encourage you to get this pendant to much easier avoid them, but I don't think they're that bad. But then again, I did not see that either he didn't do it because I killed him too fast, or I missed it. I didn't see that hand up in the air thing that you described. Whatever he did. Seriously, I love how it reminds me of the Mad World Gears of War trailer where Marcus Phoenix, he's staring into the shadows, and then there's the glowing visor of a corpser monster that the Locust Horde use as diggers, and it's like approaching him from the shadows, and then the light hits and you see the head. That's what it reminded me of as Manus appears from the shadows. '61. Well, I definitely don't need intelligence anymore, so I think I'm going to level up my strength, and either strength or dexterity. I'll do strength. Besides, I'll have plenty. I have a lot of soul pods spared up, so I can use them all if I wish. Firelink Shrine. Crystal Cave Catacombs. Oolacile Sanctuary. Oolacile Township and the dungeon. I'll go to the Sanctuary. I'll also go to the Township too, just to see if Goff wants to say anything. So Manus is defeated. I actually liked him. He has a cool song, cool theme, cool look, cool everything.
I have awaited thee. Thou hast rescued Princess Dusk and rid us of that terrible primeval human, even halting the spread of the abyss. I salute the grandeur of thine enterprise. Please allow me to express my gratitude. I thank thee, as do we all.
Elizabeth's mushroom.
I will remember thee, but I will keep thy story to myself. This is the best way, for thou art come from a time far ahead. No one will sing thy praises, but yet thy greatness shall live on, for it shall be my purpose to remember all thou hast done for us. Was thine eye glancing hither? Thou needst not hide thy wonder. I am a mushroom, after all.
Indeed, a mushroom with eyes.
I am.
Well, I won't need the medallion anymore.
May the flames guide thee.
Okay, so I'm guessing Elizabeth is omniscient. She can see the future and see the future, like a fortune teller. You know, they kept saying. So the wiki said there was like multiple sanctuary beasts, and I've combed through the entirety of Oolacile and did not see the ones they were talking about. Either that or I'm tripping. Multiplayer room that I'm not gonna bother with. Doesn't look like anyone shows up here. Let's go say hi to Goff one more time. I cannot for the life of me. Did you go back to where you fought the Guardian? Because they're there. Oh, okay. No, I didn't do that. I fought one. It's just I was under the impression they were somewhere further along, but I read it wrong. Because I was having a little trouble trying to cut their tail before, just like I was with Calamite, and I was like, how do you reach it? But eventually I got lucky. Granted, the weapon's not really my cup of tea. Just me being OCD.
Thou comest again, legend of humans. It is always an honor to speak with thee.
Hey, there was a large, very pissed off primeval caveman down there. I think you should have gotten your ass off up there.
No, do not mistake my words.
Nah, he doesn't have new dialogue. I thought he'd have something, but nope. You know, I kind of feel sorry for Dusk with how the worst luck she must have. She gets captured by Manus. She then likely being subjected to eldritch horrors, the likes of which freaking Merrick from Yu-Gi-Oh! Would probably dream up in his sleep. And then she ends up trapped in a gold golem for like 100 years. Oh, just in time to see Lord Dran on the borderline threshold of the Age of Dark. If you should choose to go through with it. Well, considering the canonicity of Dark Souls seems to be... First game... Okay, no one's here. First game, Link the Fire, and then so on and so forth. Then there's whatever you do in 2, and then 3 where, hey, whichever ending you want. Okay, I'm going to go to the Undead Parish. Yeah. One Guardian was a handful. I'm not too keen on fighting multiple at once. Still, thanks for the info. Now, I killed the Hellkite Wyvern finally, not long ago, so I don't have to deal with him no more. There are 2 mini-boss enemies that I did not kill, and that was the Titanite Demons, the one in Lost Izalith, and the one in, on Orlando. And I have no intention to go fighting them. They're overpowered.
Well, hello again. You seem to be doing all right. Need anything forged?
Yes. Oh, Divine Spear. Where is that club? There it is. Occult club. And there's the trophy. Alright.
Don't get yourself killed. Neither of us want to see you go hollow.
Let me make a rain check for a sec on the trophy list. Okay. Chaos I did. Fire weapon and divine weapon I have not done, and neither have I lightning. So that's the 3 weapon, high weapon ones left. Plus the, finding the covenants and getting all the spells and high and rare weapons. So yeah, it seems like a doable game to platinum, just not within a single playthrough. Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can speak to Dusk again. Now that I'm back to the present. I noticed something. Dark Souls 1, this one, it's like back to the past, Samurai Jack with Oolacile. Then in the third game, it's back to the future, more or less, because of the Ring City. So we're close to the end of the game. I think I'll do it. I think I'll go and head right towards it. Grind a specific class of enemy that's over there, and then fight the final boss. I might as well. I'm already pretty much done. So it'll be a double boss fight of light and dark. Manus and, well, I'm not gonna say it, because, yeah, I know who it is. I've seen the reviews, because of my curiosity. Well, long before I ever got the game anyway, so... I think I went the wrong way. Yep. I never spoke to Ingward again at New Londo, but honestly, I don't want to go back there. I've had enough ghosts.
I am Dusk of Oolacile. It is an honor to see thee again. I shall follow thy wishes. My home of Oolacile was reduced to ashes long ago in my time. I've been alone ever since, but to be summoned thus, and to be of service to thee, it is most rewarding. Oh, forgive me. Such a long past time is none of thine concern.
Doesn't really, have much.
If thou art in need, pray summon me again. I only wish to be of some genuine assistance. May the flames guide me.
Okay. I'm gonna go... Wait a minute. Soul of Manus, far of the abyss. Extraordinary soul is viscous, lukewarm lump of gentle humanity. Manus was clearly once human, but he became the father of the abyss after his humanity went wild, eternally seeking his precious broken pendant. Yeah, the one that I used to go to the past. What do I get with the soul of Manus? Let me see. I think it was a catalyst, but I'm not really using those, so it doesn't really matter. Manus Catalyst. I'm debating whether or not I honestly want it. Then again, probably not. But then again, it looks like I could make something with it. So, basically, Manus's power went out of control and it consumed him. Basically, Tetsuo from Akira. Only cooler looking and not nearly as disgusting. Ugh. I know a lot of people love that movie, but honestly, I'm not too keen on ever watching it again. I'm sorry. But one time on Toonami was enough. Just that gross transformation.
Well,
just
hello,
ugh.
Ken. You need any...
Like I have a stomach for some things, but that wasn't one of them. Doesn't look like I can form it here. I think it was the giant.
I'll be seeing you, man.
Besides, I'll get some points by slaying the ones guarding him. And, of course, the elevator disappears. So, overall, the Arturius expansion, it's shorter than I thought. way shorter than the old Hunters DLC in Bloodborne. But the 4 bosses are that make it up, and the stuff you get is pretty worth it, honestly. Funny enough, I find it funny how Artorias, despite him being the face of the DLC, he was honestly the easiest one in the whole expansion. Like, I surprised myself. I'm still surprised that I actually beat him. Like, the Sanctuary Guardian, it took me, like, several tries, 4 tries with Calamite, and of course, couple, like, 3 or 4 for Manus. Well, I'm definitely going to be grinding Silver Knights in the future, because I think they're part of the rare weapon thing. Same with the gargoyles over there. Not interested in you. Leave me alone. Man of, straight to the point. I like him. Manus Catalyst. Straight away, eh? Yeah, whatever. Let's take a look-see. Pretty sure these are meant for spellcasters, not melee. Although, yep. Actually, wait a minute. You can use them as melee, just with the R trigger. It looks cool though, but I can't use it since I don't have any spells to use. Because I went hard on melee in this game in order to use some of the big weapons. And I can now use the Moonlight Sword, which is also what makes me happy. So I'm pleased about that, at least. Yeah, I could have used the soul instead to make souls, but it's fine. Yeah. There's Gwyn, there's Guinevere, and there's one person missing, whom I'm going to assume the missing statue belongs to Gwendolyn. Either Gwendolyn or Nameless King. We already saw the statue, the broken statue of the Nameless King, where in the parish. Alright. Firelink. Let me go talk to Framp so I can sell off some stuff.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Well and wide awake. Do not treat me like an old withering snake.
I find it funny how you have to hit him to wake him up. You can't just press X to talk.
I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent?
Feed. Eye of Death. Titanite chunks. One value for the crystal sword. Really? What a rip. Okay.
Farewell.
I'll come back to talk to him again. Up the ass. Number 2. That's what I call a double. I missed it. Why did he have to be in such a precarious spot? What a douchebag.
Aye, Shemai. I didn't expect to meet anybody here. I suppose great minds think alike, eh?
What a weirdo. Shitty crystal weapon. Oh my god, 20,000 for this crap. And what's worse is, if what I read correctly, this armor does not translate to New Game Plus. You have to buy it all over again, which is so damn stupid.
Well, that is a shame then. But no matter. No, not to worry. Come back again. I'm always available. Not every trade was meant to be. There'll be more in...
Shut up. He talks more than me.
Shemai, I suppose.
Armor of Artorias. One of the Gwyn's four knights, the depth of the armor's owner can be surmised from the corrosive dark of the abyss and the tattered azure blue cape, once a symbol of pride and glory. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That was a fine trade. I have this funny feeling we'll meet again, and
Let's take a look at it. Whoa. It definitely looks cool. You know what?
I suppose.
I want it.
Well, that is a shame then. But no matter. No, not to worry. Come back. Not it.
I'm near the end of the game. It's fun. Might as well.
I suppose.
I have no... What does that word mean? Aishamine. I don't know.
Thank you. That was a fine trade.
Okay, let's... You know what? Let's just wear it. I came this far, I might as well dress to impress before I go meet his lordship. Wink wink, hint hint. Oh, are you kidding me? It shows my face? Boo. I don't want my face to be shown. I want it to be covered up. Is it me, or do my ankles look overly thin, like they've rotted away? Oh my god. How does an Ornstein mix look? A little better, actually. You know what? I'm gonna look like an asshole and go like this. So yeah, now I'll look like two of Gwyn's knights fused to one.
Oh, hello. Why, of course I don't mind teaching you sorceries, but now that...
Too late. How much do I need to level up again? Another 1,000-ish. Dexterity, so that way it's evened out. Alrighty. Let me switch to this ring so I can get some Black Knight weapons from the next area.
I am pleased to see. Is it so? Very well. Then stay still for a moment.
Creepy. That'll never not be creepy. With the other hats, helmets. Silver Knight. Black Knight. Better. Ugh, why? I really wish the Artorias helmet covered up my face completely. I can still see my nose. Alrighty then, well, we made it. Let's offer up the souls. Wait a minute, let me prepare, just in case. Offers of souls. Hallelujah. Whoa. Knights. Black Knights. Wandering souls. Whoa. Kiln of the First Flame. Well, this place looks creepy. And there's music for it. Summon sign, and I can summon a dude. It's all ash. Look at that. It almost looks like a massive explosion that took place of some kind, because look at all the ash, how it's been blown into a pattern. Like it's like wind was blowing and then it just flash froze. Let's farm some Black Knights. chunk. Boo. I want to get at least. I got the axe and the ultra great sword. What I really want now is the shield, the halberd, and the regular sword. That way I don't have to worry about missing them. And I got the serpent ring, so that should help. That's a regular greatsword. No, that's the ultra greatsword, which I already have and don't need. Here, so I can spawn him. Change the title. Goes again. Ah, profundes. Yay, Black Knight sword. Did I get anything else? I think I got. Yeah. Boulder shield. Okay, I did not get his shield, but that's fine. Keep grinding him until I get it. $220, 100 levels lower. Oh, has fresh blood on it. Ugh. I have no idea where my shield went. It's faster. Yeah, it's more like the Arturius sword. I like it, but I don't like the grip, the guard. I don't know. The reverse guard on it just looks weird to me. It's honestly kind of impractical when you think about it, because isn't the guard, you know, supposed to keep an opponent's sword from coming down onto your hand? Well, a straight, or at the very least an upward-facing V shape going down the blade, you know, that makes sense, but what's the point of a backwards-facing guard? That's not going to stop the blade, it's just going to make it, it's just only going to temporarily hamper it, and it'll go back down the sword anyway. could probably understand something like that for a ceremonial purpose, but I don't know. It just seems like an impractical design choice. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Shield, and then halberd. That's a chunk. Okay. Oh, right, great sword again. Hey. Another sword. Black Knight armor. Cool. Only took till the very end of the game to get it. Come on, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Bit of a flat-faced helmet, but ugh. Looks pretty demonic compared to the silver armor, all things considered. I think I'll settle for this. A mix of Black Knight and Elite. Solaire's right here. I'll go back and get him in a moment. White chunk. Honestly, I think I'm gonna probably well, I got the halberd. Honestly, I think I'll save the grinding for a separate playthrough because I just want to finish the game at this point. It's almost 9 o'clock, and you know how my reviews get. Alright, Solaire. Let's do this, man. Well. No turning back now. Let's finish this. Finish the final boss so we can all go home. Well, in a matter of speaking. This area looks cool. Very cool. I love how petrified everything looks. It's like Pompeii. Pompeii magnified. Alright. Geronimo. Gwyn. Gwyn. Whoa. He hollowed. That was shockingly easy. I don't think he even used his strongest attacks. I wanted to try and get a parry on him, but I think he liked Solaire more than me. I feel like I got cheated. Ugh. So he's not exactly super strong or anything. He's just kind of simple. Everything's easy with a summon. LOL. Yeah, you got a point. Well, sort of. Depends on the boss. Neo 2 certainly had a bunch of bosses where I was like, you know, the help wasn't really help. Then again, everyone told me Sif was unhelpful, and, well, look how helpful he was, but, I think the easiest boss in the whole game through an assist was definitely a Moonlight Butterfly. Like, Beatrice just shot him out of the sky. Well, I'm gonna make a note for Gwyn. Go by myself next time, cause I felt like I robbed myself there. I didn't think he'd be that easy, especially with the Solaire right there, but no. But so he fights like a normal Hollow, just with a flaming sword. So Gwyn came down here, sacrificed himself to keep the flame going, and yeah, he went Hollow. But at the same time, it's kind of poetic. You know, you have this, basically the king of the gods, more or less, coming down here, guarding the flame that he pretty much built his entire kingdom around, and he goes Hollow trying to protect it. So he's, well, he's not exactly in his best state, so in a way it's kind of pathetic. It's kind of poetic. Yeah, he went from Lord of Sunlight to Lord of Cinders. But hey, we did it. Try back if I want to get the bad end, the dark ending. But I went with France the whole time, so I'm gonna go with the canon ending and do the other ending another time whenever I feel like it. Link the Fire. I don't succeed Gwyn. I just take his place as a martyr. It burns! To link the fire. Oh boy. So, this is how Dark Souls ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. But also a bang, because you like the flame. Damn. Oh, I just realized something. You notice how the kiln was ash-covered all over the place, right? So when I look at Dark Souls 3, the premise of that is, like, the flame's been linked so many times that it's fading, and you got it, they keep trying to do it, and do it. But I noticed something. In Dark Souls 3, the whole art design seems to be very saturated with, like, ash all over the place. Which honestly fits, since they've lit the flame so many times that it's just caused more and more of a build-up and the flame to die out. It's like it's like in a fireplace. You light it so many times that eventually it's just gonna give out. You're gonna have a whole lot of spent logs and embers and ash all over the place. In a way, it fits. So, yeah, that's Dark Souls 1. I've finally gotten around to playing the game for myself after many years. And for those who are wondering why it took me so long, my initial thoughts on the Soul series was cautiously negative. And that was by design, really. Because the main gimmick, was like, oh, the game is super hard, so it's like difficult for difficulty's sake. And in a way, they're sorta right. But at the same time, you don't really get a game like this growing on trees anymore. So from the perspective of getting a game that is up there with the old ones in terms of being a tribute to, you know, the old hack and slash games that were difficult, it does the job admirably. And in terms of, yeah, like Bloodborne, it does have a very vague story, but it has a lot of background if you're willing to look into it through the items, which in a way double as codex entries, now that I think about it. And the wikis help if there's ever a gap in the logic where I'm just like, am I, what is this? So, even though it's vague, the basic story of Dark Souls is pretty enjoyable. You know, ring the bells and link the flame, but you find more and more stuff, and you honestly want to know more about it. Unpopular opinion, but I actually kind of think I like the story in Dark Souls 1 more than Bloodborne. Here's what I mean. It's just, you know, with Bloodborne, it's like, you gotta go find white blood or whatever. But it kind of diverges away from that to an extent where it's like, okay, you either free yourself or you become a god, more or less. Or you choose to just take up Gehrman's, place, and it kind of, I don't know, just to me, thinking about the plot in Bloodborne, it kind of felt like the plot kind of diverged to a point, you didn't really realize it. Whereas here, it's a little more straightforward and easy to follow, but still deep enough where it doesn't feel like it diverged a terrible amount. Where you're like, okay, what's happening now? But it's like, yeah. That's not to take away from Bloodborne, it's just, I just think this is more coherent. What just happened? They restarted the game anyway.
Indeed. The dark sign brands the undead.
They don't even re-show the original cutscene. They just take you right back to the asylum.
The undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world.
Yeah, in a harder retread of the end of the world.
This is your fate.
There I am in my armor. My good armor. There's Oscar again. That's another thing. I read some dialogue that was unused. Oscar was supposed to have a bigger part in the game, and he would be like a foil, where he'd be a friend of yours through much of the game. But then, depending on which side you took, he would oppose you. So if you ended up with Grant, he would end up joining Koff, and in so doing opposing Gwyn. But if you chose Koff, he would side with Grant and call you a traitor and whatnot. So that kind of goes into a little bit of a nitty complaint that I have. Not with the game itself, just the remaster. Okay, let me save here and get out of here. But so yeah, let me do the positives, because there's definitely a lot. So yeah, like I said, Dark Souls 1, story simple, but has a lot of hidden lore through the item descriptions and characters that you talk to, which it does make you want to know more. And there's fireworks outside. Yay. And overall, it's enjoyable to play. I don't think the game is as hard as I was led to believe, but there were definitely some frustrating moments. And like I said, as a dungeon crawler RPG with near limitless builds you can put off, it's definitely held up in that way. Now, obviously, I did not even scratch the surface, and that's not the Actaman's review. He pretty much said, I felt accomplished, but not at the same time. That's kind of how I feel. I feel like I've done so much, but at the same time done so little. And there's definitely a lot of things I would definitely like to go and do in the game. Like me, I mostly did straight sword and shield in this game. So there's definitely many more things you can do, and there's a lot of cool weapons and armor sets. The Quelaag sword I loved. The Black Knight Greatsword I loved. There's a lot to like if you want to go as like a paladin knight person. By all means, you can do it. Many of the enemies are I wouldn't say the smartest in the world, but they are challenging, and you gotta definitely read them well to counter them. I loved the parry system in the game. And the backstabs. Honestly, I love the backstabs in this game because a lot of the animations are reused, but I feel like here it's good. They feel good because there's at least some variety. With swords and daggers, it's like into the gut and then you kick them off, and with the axe and ultra great swords, you like bat them away with like a baseball bat. It's satisfying, man. And of course, once you get the parries down, it's actually satisfying. Like, I avoided parrying for so long because I just couldn't get the pattern down, but eventually with enough practice I started to actually do it. Now, I did not do it often at all in this game, but once I practiced with it, I did feel good when I was grinding away off screen. And the interconnection of the dungeons is also fairly well thought out, a lot like Bloodborne as well. So it's like, just when you think you've seen everything, there's one little nook and cranny that From Software put in there that you'd be like, that makes sense. And I like how both simultaneously small yet large Lordran is. Like you would be in Firelink, and you'd see off to the distance. You could see like everything from the entrance to the catacombs. You could see the Great Hollow, the walls of Honor Lando, whole bunch of places. And yet when you go there, it feels like it's small at the same time. And it's like Actman said, subtle grandiosity in a way. Large yet small at the same time. So it's a cool world to explore. Visually, as a straight port from the old game, it's held up fairly well. Probably not the best, but the game looks good. The armors look good. The monsters and creatures look disgusting and awesome at the same time. The weapons too. Yeah, the gameplay, the whole having to use the shoulders to do attacks is off. Like I said repeatedly, I've had trouble with the controls being too sensitive. But once you get a pattern down and you know what you're doing, it feels good. You feel like you can do whatever comes at you, but you still gotta be careful. And there are a lot of moments where I both fucked myself as much as the game fucked me. I'm just gonna be honest. Although I like to think that I did a good job at trying to not fall to my death a lot of the time, although there were definitely some moments where that didn't happen. Voice acting is pretty good. A lot of the environments and dungeons are varied for the most part, and even though there are some enemies that I'm like, ugh, I hate you, like, but for the most part, not a bad game really. I I will admit I'm a little hesitant to call it a masterpiece like others do it. If I were being generous, I would say it's a flawed masterpiece. Because there are some things in the game where I'm like, eh. And, for example, I think the physics for some of the floors are a little iffy. Like the dunes in Ash Lake, you'd fall off way too easily. I'm not a fan of how your weapons will bounce off walls, but the enemies won't. And, and some things feel archaic here and there. And also, it's very obvious that places like the Lost Izalith and Demon Ruins were not finished. Like, you saw how I reacted to Lost Izalith. I go in there, and it's just a giant lava room with multiple rumps of undead dragons. It's like they ran out of time and just said, fuck it. And it's kind of funny in a way. Which is kind of where I kind of get a little gripey with the remastered part. If you look at Dark Souls Remastered as a complete Game of the Year edition, with all the DLCs from the original version ported in, it's great in that regard. You're getting the full game, at $30 or however $20, and you're good. However, as a remastered, especially 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 6 years later, I do think I do sympathize with a lot of Dark Souls fans that I've read on forums where they call the remastered garbage, because they, at best, other than the content edition, at best they just touched up the frame rate and graphics a bit, because there's a lot of stuff that I wish was fixed and altered to be better. Like, again, I said the physics are off because the engine is just not tuned up enough for some instances. Like, there's parts like, for example, the Bed of Chaos, like, my character would jump over roots and branches just fine in the floors of some areas, but then he'd suddenly stub his toe and he wouldn't be able to move, and I end up getting killed because my character just stopped all of a sudden. So, and also, yeah, the Lost Izalith and Demon's Ruins, I felt they could have touched those up. They could have, within that amount of time, gone back and just filled in what they wanted to do originally, and also redo bosses that really needed it, like Bed of Chaos. Bed of Chaos is definitely the worst boss in the game, and with good reason. Leave it to Neo 2 to take that very style of boss and actually do it well with the Daidara Bochi boss in that game, where all you had to do was just attack the arms so that way they would stop moving and you'd be free to go attack the weak point and you were good. They also did not bother with platforming, and that's probably the other thing gameplay-wise the game suffers from, the platforming. There are a few moments where it is clever, where you can roll onto a certain thing, a certain floor or whatever, and be like, hey, I found a secret. But there are parts where it's like, doesn't work. Again, Bed of Chaos. And there are some enemies that are like unreasonably difficult and they're not just to be annoying, like the Titanite demons. I hate the Titanite demons. They are definitely, in my opinion, the most loathsome enemy in the whole game. And also some environments I feel could like I'm not a fan of Blighttown because of the swamp. And the lighting in the game is both good and bad. Here's what I mean. Like, there's a lot of moments where the game, it's creepy and dark, and you get the creeps and shit. And there's also grand vistas that look beautiful, even in the game a couple of years old as this. The graphics, when you get a nice, pristine view, look very good. The world looks both large and small at the same time. But there's a couple of moments here and there, like namely Blighttown, and to a small extent, not as bad as Blighttown, but a small extent, the Demon Ruins, where there's like a neon filter over the lava and fire torches, and it honestly hurt my eyes a couple of times. Like, I'm going through Blighttown, it's like there's an extreme contrast between the dark and the lit torches, and there's the J.J. Abrams flares honestly tired my eyes a couple of times. Like, that rarely ever happens in games, and this is one of those where I honestly had to, like, rub my eyes just to get them to not hurt, you know what I mean? So for the most part, even though it's definitely old now, the game still looks good. I do think as a Game of the Year edition, it's great for what it is in that regard. But as a remastered, I do think it could have benefited much better from having areas and bosses that needed to be reworked, done, and also maybe give the game a different engine, a more advanced engine, like what Blue Point is doing with Demon Souls. And I never played Demon Souls, so I can't wait to see more of what they do with that one. But then again, that's being called a remake, not a remaster, so maybe, I don't know. It's honestly nebulous as to what constitutes as a remaster and a remake these days. And also, I felt that the options in the game were kind of limited, namely in regards to button settings. Like, I've said, I've had this issue where I have sensitivity issues with the game. Like, I so much as lightly touch the triggers or the joysticks, and my character would just randomly attack or do something. And there'd be times where I either press the attack to come out once, but he ends up doing it several times, or I try to cancel it out and he just keeps doing what he does anyway. And then of course there were the couple of times where I just brush up the trigger without trying to press it down, and it's like super sensitive. And I ended up attacking what's his name in the parish who cures me of my sins. And he attacked me. I got away from him, but he was clearly very pissed. And then I killed Engi by accident in the Fair Lady's throne room, and I could not level up my pyromancy hand to get Quaylana to come out, so I was fucked. And there's no sensitivity option to prevent that. Someone pointed something out before, but it was mostly just a directorial thing. But it wasn't what I thought it was. So, if I had to name issues with the game, it's definitely that the physics are wonky. The button sensitivity for the game is also can be troublesome, especially if you so much as even lightly graze the thing. And also some bosses and areas were not re-looked at again. But besides that, the game holds up for the most part. Like, the music is very good. It's limited. Most of the time, you're just going to be hearing your armor clanking around. But when the beats hit, they hit. There's a lot of good monster themes in this game. And, of course, there's just as many good remixes of those songs in this game on YouTube. Look up Alex Rosa remix of Gwyn's theme. It's glorious. it kind of makes you wish that was the definitive theme used in the game. And the bosses are definitely the highlight in the game. I love most of them. Not all of them. Bed of Chaos, remember? But I do like majority of them. And I do like how they start off simple, kind of up and down here and there, but then get much more grandiose and disgusting and at the same time. Like Taurus Demon, clearly an homage to Nosferatu Zod in Berserk. Then again, Dark Souls might as well be Berserk the game. Probably the closest we've gotten to a proper one in a long time that isn't a Dynasty Warriors clone. And then you go from here to there, obstacles and so on, and then of course you get to the big stuff like Ornstein and Smo, the Nito, the Four Kings. And if I had to, and of course the Arturius DLC as well, which added a couple more to them, and this is definitely a game where you'll get you put in time and mastering into everything, you will get good. And by a good chunk of the game, I did feel like I got good. Although there were times where I did feel, am I actually good or am I just over leveled? Because remember, I killed Arturius in one go without dying once to him, and I was like, wait, what? I thought he was harder than that, and I didn't even get assistance with that. And of course, there are bosses where it was like, yeah, I do kind of. If I were to, there are bosses where you can go and get assistance with NPCs where they are helpful. But there are where I can say, yeah, probably not a good idea. Like, for example, Gwyn. I was expecting Gwyn to be harder than he was, but he kind of, for whatever reason, focused on Solaire, and Solaire did decent damage on him. And up against my leveled up Black Knight Greatsword, he was barely a footnote. And what was I gonna say? Shit. But yeah, a lot of side quests. It is a little hard to keep track of what, where, and what everything to do in this game is. I had to. If this is definitely a game that you're either gonna either love or hate at first, and I know people. One who's been watching this thing right now who definitely hated the game at first, but it's definitely an acquired taste for some people. Like, for example, it took me like forever to finally, years even, to complete Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, because I was just navigationally inept. I could not figure out where to go. This is a kind of game where it's in that vein where it's like, because it only gives me a vague description as to where I gotta go, and a lot of the dungeons can not all of them, but they can be sprawling labyrinths. I'm a little like, where do I go? I don't know where to go. Like, hell, there's another one called Metroid Prime on the GameCube. I started it, but never got very far because it was just so big. And there's no direction. Like, where do you go from there? From the start? But I do think Dark Souls is a slightly more accessible in that regard. You'll generally figure out where to go. But there are, of course, some branching paths where it's like you would not know the first time. Like, imagine picking up the painted doll and not knowing that takes you to the painted world of Ariamis. I wouldn't have known that the first time, going in blind. Hell, and how they admittedly kind of sloppily implemented the Arturius DLC. Yeah, I wouldn't have figured that out the first time. Getting the pendant there, breaking the golem in like the very far end tunnel of the lake where the Hydra was there. It's like, but it's like figuring out the layout. It's like knowing the layout of your house. You get used to it, and I definitely figured out how to get to places after a while. And of course you can create and upgrade weapons, which is nice. Although I do call me old school, but I do think that a lot of the weapons and armor that you get in the game, I think would have been better served getting earned from just straight up getting them after beating the bosses, instead of having to go to the trouble of upgrading certain weapons through precious resources and just until eventually finally you get it, or paying extra credits for an armor set that you really want. So it's like, I feel they made it a little too in-depth in that regard, but at the same time, you do feel rewarded for putting in the effort. And as for the bosses themselves, like I said, I like that they add the tricks to them. Like they clearly took a little bit of Monster Hunter from the game in regards to snapping tails off of them. Like, that was satisfying. Getting behind a gargoyle and snapping his tail off with your blade, or shooting the well, albeit after 10 minutes, shooting the tail off the Hellkite wyvern. You know, and it's like, yeah, you feel good. Like you got a little extra prize with your boss fight, more or less. And I appreciate that. And I would say some of the best bosses I've played are in the games. Like Manus. Manus definitely was the highlight for me in this stream. Calamite, once I actually fought him properly and didn't worry about his tail, was actually pretty good. Ornstein and Smo, I have no shame in admitting I loathed fighting them, but I understand where a lot of people go, why a lot of people like them. It's just what frustrated me was some of the odd physics where it looks like I don't even get hit, but I get hit anyway. And also the fact that there are some questionable design bits where you'd enter the boss room and Ornstein would immediately dash forward and snipe you with his spear. And then there's moments like the Stray Demon and the Gravelord Nito fight where you are forced to take damage by falling before fighting them. Like, no. To me, that is just bad design. Don't ever do that in any game, ever, in my opinion, because it's like a reverse, it's a penalty. It's a penalty for doing what the game wants you to do, which to me is a big no-no. Like, punish me for actual failure. Don't punish me because I'm going where the game logically wants me to go. So don't blame me for dying when half my health gets sapped away from gravity. So yeah. And the weapons feel good. I didn't use any magic, but because of my class, but from what I've seen from other players, like Wooly Versus, where he played as a pyromancer, that looked satisfying, throwing fireballs and stuff into crowds. And of course, there's some enemies where you obviously will not be leveled up enough to do at first, like the Black Knight, but when you come back, and you have that better weapon, you're more powerful, and you get that backstab, and it feels glorious. So bosses even ones that I do hate are learnable very much. Like I eventually figured out Ornstein and Smo. I was able to get them in my own way, and when I paid attention to how when Big Ornstein shows up, I was like, where does he spawn? Where does he spawn so I can kill Smo in a specific spot so as to immediately get under him? I figured that out, and I ended up winning, finally, after a million tries. And of course there's ones with some cool gimmicks like the Four Kings, where it's like it's like a twist on the time boss. Kill one as fast as possible and get so the other one can show up without you fighting, without you being beneath. Kill one as fast as possible without the other one showing up to surprise you. And if you don't do it fast enough, then the very first one will show up eventually. And it's like it's a panic boss. And so yeah, there's a lot of good bosses in this game. Again, some not good, but a lot of them are enjoyable. And like Bloodborne, there are some good ones in here that I would definitely say are worth playing the game through. Manus was, again, liked him. Liked him. And I really like the tone of the game. It's dark fantasy, but it's also, strangely enough, I feel like Dark Souls is also in a way a quasi survival horror game in a sense. Because you go into places like like New Landro ruins. You need either the transient curses or to invest in a cursed weapon to kill the ghosts, so you don't get bothered by them, or that one spell that makes your footsteps quieter, so you don't draw their attention. I had a cursed weapon, so I didn't really bother with it very much. You also have there's the Tomb of the Giants, where it's pitch black and you can't see barely 2 feet in front of you, so you need either the maggot helmet or the skull lantern. And I went with the skull, and I found the skull lantern. Thank you again, thank you Judy for that. And I had you have to double. It's like Doom 3 in a sense, where the original version of Doom 3, where you have to juggle between lighting the path and then readying yourself immediately to attack or defend. And then, of course, when you see the undead monstrosities lurking in the darkness, it's like, ugh! Like, get away from me! And of course, there's some, and of course, like, with the Manus, you needed that pendant, otherwise you'd get screwed by his magic. And it's also kind of a creepy game in a way. It's not, I wouldn't say I've been jump scared or anything, but there were some surprise moments here and there. And then, of course, you had Sen's Fortress, which is definitely one of the areas that I did not like for many reasons. So you can definitely give a point to the game where there's no one repetitive environment. A lot of them have their own gimmick, although some of them are definitely like, why? Like, fuck the swamp, seriously. And the platforming in the Great Hollow, no thank you. So, yeah, in a way, it's like, you get both an action RPG, a dark fantasy action RPG, and a medieval survival horror game at the same time. It's weird, Like, they managed to juggle, in my opinion, two different forms of game into an almost seamless blend, and I gotta give them credit for that. I don't know if anyone else has ever made that connection, really. It's just, I guess once you've seen a certain amount of games over the years, you start to see, I guess, possible influences. Monster Hunter with the tail cutting, Doom 3 with the flashlight and dark levels. So I gotta give FromSoft credit for trying to mixing things up in a few areas. It doesn't always work in some parts. Like the platforming, I really wish they did away with that, because it's more trouble than it was worth in a lot of places. But in areas where that experimentation works, like with the flashlight powers and all, it works, and I gotta give them credit for that. And even though I consider myself, as rich as the lore is, and I most definitely like the lore in Dark Souls, I don't know if I would call myself a hardcore fan. Probably more casual fan. But I will definitely, I definitely will go back and play the game again, if not just for platinuming the game, but also for, doing more stuff that I couldn't do before. It's definitely one that I can see that definitely does have a lot of replay value. And powers and weapons and bosses that you can master for days at a time. And not to mention the PvP, which I'm not a big multiplayer person, but even though I didn't really go into the PvP moments where it did happen, being overjoyed or anything, I will say the moments where it did happen, I was like, okay, I can see why people like it, because some random guy shows up, and he can either help you or aid you. And there were a few moments where I definitely I won some, and there were some where I did definitely lose some. Yes, but it is a satisfying, dodging, weaving, and striking, and potentially getting that one parry or backstab where you've worked down all of your estices and your tricks, and then you finally get to the last little percentage of health, and then it's the moment of truth. Those are magical moments. And of course, you go to a bonfire and you sit there. Sometimes people will give you bonfires while in the process. So it's like, yeah, the game definitely has a very loose morale. In a way, kind of has like a tailor to you kind of morality system. It's not like Knights of the Republic or Mass Effect where it's like more binary. Here, it's a bit more like do whatever the way you do it, however you want, how you want it. Despite the double ending, which are both up to interpretation. And I definitely think that Dark Souls 1 definitely does the interpretive storytelling well. It's simple and consistent with what the story is and what it wants to tell. You ring the bells and choose to either light the flame or doom the world into dark, but at the same time it has a lot more nuance and subtlety throughout, where it's like, oh, I get it. This makes things, this adds to it, you know what I mean? So as a lore-heavy game with interpretive storytelling, it definitely does the job well. And, of course, there's definitely a lot of details here and there that I could probably go on for hours talking about, but I'd rather not do that. If you want to see a much more comprehensive review of the whole game that goes a little deeper than I possibly can, I say go look up Actman's review of the game. I don't think he's correct in some things. Like, I did not max resistance, obviously. If anything, it's only good for maybe a few areas. Just get it to like level 15 or 20, and then you're good for there. Everything else you can pretty much you can solve with either shields or armor sets, really. And then, of course, buy a couple of stuff to tend to your wounds, like the purge stones for curses. Fuck basilisks. Ugh. I hate those bug-eyed creeps. And I do think, some of the game is fair in a lot of places, but in a lot of ways isn't, due to like the sloppy physics here and there, and the Bed of Chaos being, well, the Bed of Chaos, and also Demon Fire Sage. That was a bad boss. It's just the stray demon made worse. And even though it does have a lot of frustrating elements to it, there's more good, far more good than there is bad. It just seems like it at times, because it's either the age of the game hasn't aged well in parts, or stuff that wasn't well thought out in parts. But my bitching aside, of which I did plenty, there is definitely more good to enjoy in Dark Souls. And I'll be frank. I want to say, for the most part, I'm probably exaggerating, and I wasn't nearly as much, but I think I may have been much more calm in this game than I was in other ones, like Bloodborne. Bloodborne was the first true Souls game I ever played, And because I was still getting used to it, there were moments where I was like, WTF, mofo, what the fuck do you want me to do? And then you had Neo, which definitely had I definitely had a better handle on it because of the much more traditional controls, but there were still some pretty iffy bosses in that game. Neo 2, I felt did a little better, although it did have its moments. Code Vein, I want to say, has been the easiest one of the bunch because you could go at it with one of the NPC characters at all times, although there were admittedly a couple of bosses and mini bosses in that game which kind of left me scratching my head like, what? But I think because I expected a lot of bullshit in this game to happen, where it was like, I was able to be like, okay, either they meant that to happen, or it just wasn't done as well as I wish it was. So it's like, Ornstein and Smo, I hear nothing but super great things about them. How they're so awesome, they're challenging. But then I get hit by the cheapest moves in the book, and I'm like, you call this challenging? And then, of course, there was the bit with trying to get Calamete's tail, which took 2 whole parts to do. Because he just would not behave the way he's supposed to. But for the most part, even with the objectively worst bosses like the Bed of Chaos, I was just like, okay. So it's like, you get used to it after a point. And it's like, so it's like after playing several Souls-like games and hearing about and research looking into this game for so many years before eventually playing it, it was like, okay. I mean, it kind of feels like I spoiled the surprise at the same time, but you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes there's some games where you know of how good they are, you know everything, but then you eventually you play it and you appreciate it. I know they make it seem like a cardinal sin to not ever look into a game before playing it, but for me, I don't think it is that bad, especially if you're curious about something and you haven't made up your mind. Like, for example, Warhammer Space Marine, watched a playthrough, loved that game, what I saw in that game so much, I bought the collector's edition just so I can also get the soundtrack. And oh boy, do I wish we got a sequel to that game. Damn it, THQ. I hope there's a sequel to that game eventually. But in this game, it's like, I'm not used to dungeon crawlers of this magnitude, so I definitely appreciated seeing some of the stuff beforehand so I could better understand how the game works. And, yeah, it's a good, I do recommend any gamer if to go and give the game a shot. I don't think it's perfect. It's a flawed masterpiece more than anything else, in my personal opinion, because there's a lot of stuff that, especially in the remastered, that was not touched up upon. But if you're a fan of RPGs, if you love fantasy, if you love horror, I do say at least play the first Dark Souls. And if you want, and you're curious enough, definitely get 2 and 3 if you can. I plan to do 2 when I get it. I do have 3 at the moment. I do have 3, but I want to, of course, give the second game its fair shake first. I just need to track it down first. So I will, of course. So yeah, I will eventually return to Dark Souls with the second and third game. I am possibly considering maybe doing another playthrough of the first game just so I can do the dark ending and do stuff that I missed the first time. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So overall, Dark Souls Remastered, aka Dark Souls Complete Game of the Year Edition. Definitely give it a try if you haven't, even if you're years late to it like I have, and maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll hate it. I came out mostly loving it, despite my gripes with it. The atmosphere and tone is great. The music when it hits is great. The bosses are most of them are cool and well thought out and have nice gimmicks to them. A lot of weapon and armor variety that you can get lost in experimenting. Fun enemies to fight for the most part, and it's a very mostly well thought out game that I can say go ahead and do if you haven't done yet. But like I said, it does have its negatives: wonky physics, unfinished areas here and there, and some bosses that just were like needed more work, and some bits. Also, how the DLC was handled and implementing needed to be. I felt Bloodborne implemented the DLC far better because you walk into the wherever and you get the stuff immediately to do it right on your lap. Like, okay, just take that upon entering your home base and go talk to the big monster over there, and there it is. Whereas here, it's kind of like a little overly complicated, in my opinion. Same with the crafting system. I also liked the crafting system in Bloodborne more as well. It was like in depth but simple enough where it didn't leave you upgrading like for hours upon end trying to figure shit out. So there are definitely things Bloodborne does a lot better than Dark Souls. So if I were to compare, I would say Dark Souls does, in my opinion, has the better backstabs and a slightly less confusing world to navigate. Whereas Bloodborne, I would say, has a much more... It's not as... don't think I want to call it as deep a crafting system, because I'm going to say it. Dark Souls 1 does have a very deep crafting system with a lot of customization weapons you can do, but I do think the ease of doing so is a better there, and I do like the parrying in Bloodborne as well with the guns. I think what helps in Bloodborne is because the guns have a very loud impact to them, it feels like I actually did it. Whereas here in Dark Souls, the parrying was wonky for me because there's no real sense of weight to it. It's like, I mean, for generic blocking, you do feel the impact, but for the parrying, it's like he does like a backhand wave, and it's like it doesn't feel like there was power put into it, so it feels like you didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Whereas in Bloodborne, it's like you shot the bastard in the face just as he's about to hit you, and it's through that weight and power behind it, it registers, and you feel like you actually got him, you stunned him, and he's open. So it's like it's like a give or take, more or less. So in a lot of ways, so both games do have their own strengths in their own ways. So, but with their own little flavors. You know, Bloodborne, if you want to play a Cthulhu game, that game has you covered. If you want to play a medieval dark fantasy game with Dark Souls, that game has you covered. So there's different flavors of the formula that you can enjoy regardless, and Bloodborne was, for a lot of people, was also a gateway for Souls for players, and yeah, to play that one too. In my in all respect, and from what I've seen, they kind of took a little bit of Bloodborne and put it into the third Dark Souls game, at least in terms of movement. I don't know. That's just from what I've seen. So overall, Dark Souls Remastered, not a perfect masterpiece, not by any stretch, but as it is for the most part, while it doesn't completely, it does hold up in a lot of ways, and I do say go out and check the game out. It's very fun. It will leave you kind of frustrated here in places, but as the old adage says, get good, and this is definitely one where that adage rings true. Not always. Some BS bosses and areas where that is most definitely not the case, and just relies on dumb luck to do it. But for the most part, 80% of the time, the game is fair. And whatever failure you end up doing is of your own fault. But, you know, be prepared for the BS. Don't pretend it isn't there, because it is there. So, tone and atmospheric and bosses and weapon variety, great. Just some physics problems here and some bosses that should have been touched up. But overall, I enjoyed going to play this game for the first time. Definitely recommend it if you like fantasy RPGs with a tinge of horror in them. And I definitely see myself playing the game again at some point. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the most part. So as for what I want to do next, I don't know. I have I've been thinking though. Like I've thought there are some DLCs for games that I haven't. I kind of want to play. Like they not long ago, they eventually finished releasing DLCs for Ace Combat 7. So I'm possibly thinking of maybe buying the season pass and get the so I can get all the missions they released for that, so I can go back to that game. I've got Greedfall, which I haven't touched. There's a Gravity Rush 2, which I also haven't touched, and I've been meaning to get to that one for a long time, since I finally played the first one not long ago. Tales of Berseria is another one. I kind of want to also probably play a Star Wars game, maybe, like Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. I don't know. Besides, I also have that a Gundam model that I've mentioned a couple of times where I haven't finished it yet. Like I don't know if I'm like kind of sort of halfway through it. Like I've built the head, I've built the chest, the arms, both feet and one leg and the waist. It's just one leg that is left, and then all the weapons and backpack stuff and all the thrusters. So many thrusters. So I don't know. Either I think I may take a break and go and finish that project up, and of course post my review of it if I can. And whatever I decide to do next. I also speaking of sequels that I don't have, along with Dark Souls 2, I really want to get Yakuza 2 so I can continue that game's story, because I have the re-release of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th game. I also want to get the 6th game. So, and also Zero as well, so I can say I've played all the games in that series. So I don't know. There's a lot of options for me to do at the moment. I don't know. I'll think about it. But either way, with all that said, happy to get to finally play the first Dark Souls. Both, despite its foibles, but it definitely has a lot more virtues. And I'm happy to finally have played the game for the first time and to give my thoughts on it. So I'm gonna start signing out. Just saying, thanks for joining, Judy. Thank you for showing up as well. And I can hear the fireworks outside. And speaking of which, what a perfect time to finish this one. So yeah, happy Independence Day. You all be safe out there. And I wish you all well, and not much else. So like, share, subscribe, do what you do, and I'll see y'all later. Good night, everybody, and don't go hollow.